Hey, quick welcome! This is an original story from Tales Fair about a family crossing a line and realizing it doesn't end the way they expected. Let's begin!
My parents kept calling my 12-year-old the dumb one, while her cousin got celebrated. At their anniversary, they announced that the cousin would inherit everything, the house and the $280,000 family trust fund. I didn't cry. I got up, smiled, and said that my daughter was... My parents went pale. If you've never watched a kid realize she isn't wanted, I don't recommend it. My parents' anniversary was supposed to be a soft night. Cake, speeches, family photos, a few awkward hugs, the usual. My daughter Eliana treated it like a mission. She got dressed early, fixed her hair twice, and told me, "I'm going to record it for memories." She said it like she already knew good memories don't just happen in my family. You have to catch them while they're still alive. The second we walked in, I knew what kind of night it was going to be. Sophia, my sister Daniela's daughter, was already surrounded. People were taking pictures like she was a celebrity. Daniela and her husband Brandon stood behind her like proud managers. Eliana held her phone up anyway. Hope is stubborn. We weren't even seated before my dad did his first little jab. He passed us, glanced at Eliana's phone, and said, "Careful, sweetheart. Try to keep up." Eliana laughed politely. The laugh kids do when they're trying to be easy. Then my mom swooped in, kissed Eliana's cheek, and said, "There's my little..." She paused, looked Eliana up and down, and finished with, "Helper." Not granddaughter, not sweetheart. Helper. Eliana's smile twitched but stayed. Dinner started. The room got louder. Phones went up. A videographer circled like a shark with a nice camera. Then the slideshow came on. 20 photos of Sophia. Awards. Smiling. Center stage. One photo of Eliana. Mid-sneeze. Eliana saw it. I saw her see it. She didn't say anything. She just held the phone a little lower, like she was adjusting the angle. Like she could fix it. Then my dad took the microphone. He did the whole 40 years speech, then he smiled like he was about to do something generous. "Tonight," he said, "we're also celebrating the future of this family." Daniela's hand landed on Sophia's shoulder. Sophia smiled like she'd rehearsed it. My dad said, loud and clear, "Sophia will inherit the house." Applause. My mom stepped in smoothly, taking the mic like she'd been waiting for it. Her smile was bright and camera ready. "And the family trust, $280,000, she said, nodding toward Sophia. "That goes to Sophia too. All of it. Eliana is not included." More applause. People actually cheered. Like Inheritance is a talent show, Eliana's phone stayed up for a second longer, like she was waiting for someone to say her name. No one did. As my parents stepped away from the mic, my dad leaned toward a guest at the front table and chuckled, just loud enough to carry, "You know how it is. One's the genius, and the other one's the dumb one." Eliana's phone dipped so fast the camera caught tablecloth. Not slowly, not politely, like her body did it before her brain could pretend she didn't hear. The room laughed. Not everyone. Enough. The kind of laughter people do when they're relieved it isn't them. Eliana went perfectly still. Like if she didn't move, it wouldn't hurt as much. Like she could disappear and make it easier for everyone. I didn't cry. I got up. I smiled. And I said that my daughter was... When I finished that sentence, my parents went pale. I should probably explain something. This wasn't a one-off. My parents didn't wake up that morning and decide to be cruel for fun. They've been doing this for decades. They just got more comfortable doing it to a child once they realized a child can't fight back. In my family, there's always been a scoreboard. Daniela on top. Me, somewhere near the bottom. Barely on the list. I was 15. Dinner table. Sunday night. My dad asked Daniela about school. She listed grades like she was reading out a receipt. My mom beamed. "That's my girl." Then my dad turned to me. "And Maya," he said. "How's everything?" Not school, not friends, not anything specific. Just everything. Like my entire existence was a general concern. "I'm fine," I said. He leaned back and smiled like he was being kind. "Just try not to fall behind. Daniela's going places." Everyone laughed. Not mean laughter. Though we're a family, this is normal laughter. I laughed too, because I'd already learned the rule. If I react, I'm making a scene. If I stay quiet, I'm mature. So I got really good at being mature. I swallowed. I smiled. I disappeared. I got pregnant young. Eliana's dad left early and quietly, the way some people do when they don't want to be the villain in their own story. He just faded. So it was me. I worked. I raised Eliana. I figured out how to stretch time and money and patience. I learned how to sign forms with one hand while stirring pasta with the other. I became the kind of mom who can do a grocery run and a parent-teacher meeting in the same hour and still remember to pack snacks. My family didn't see competence. They saw a cautionary tale. The comments started gentle and got sharper over time. "Well, if you'd waited, kids need 2 parents. That's why she's behind. It's different when you have structure." And Daniela would sit there with Brandon and Sophia, nodding like she understood empathy while benefiting from every comparison. Then Eliana started struggling with reading. Not, she hates homework struggling. Real struggling. The kind that makes a child's confidence shrink by the day. She would stare at pages like the words were shifting. She'd lose her place, then get mad at herself like it was a moral failure. She'd read a word correctly once, and then trip over it the next time, like her brain was playing tricks. One night she slammed her book shut and whispered, "Why can't my brain just work?" That sentence stays with you, so I got her evaluated. Dyslexia. Not rare. Not shameful. Not a death sentence. Just a different brain doing its thing in a world that likes everything neat and linear. Eliana is smart, sharp, funny. She remembers details from a conversation I had 3 weeks ago that I forgot 3 minutes after it ended. She connects patterns. She's creative in ways that make adults blink. She just doesn't process letters the way my parents think smart looks. My parents didn't respond with curiosity. They responded with judgment dressed up as concern. "Oh," my mom would say, "that's hard." Last year at a holiday gathering, Eliana tried to read a card out loud, slowly, carefully, because she was trying. Someone laughed, loudly. "Honey, take your time. We'll be old by the time you finish." A few people chuckled. Sophia snatched the card. "I can do it," she said, bright and confident. The room clapped like Sophia had just rescued everyone from a burning building. I looked at my parents, waiting, hoping. Maybe this time they'd say something. My mom smiled and said, "See? That's what confidence looks like." Eliana didn't cry until we got in the car. Halfway home, she asked, quietly, "Mom, am I stupid?" I pulled over so fast I almost made the seatbelt lock. I turned to her and said, "No, you're not stupid. You're different. Different isn't bad." That's when something changed in me. It's one thing to tolerate cruelty aimed at me. I've had practice swallowing it. It's another thing to watch it land on my child and call it love. Grandma Elena saw it. She always saw more than anyone wanted her to. She was my mom's mother, but she didn't move like my mom. She didn't perform kindness. She was kind. There's a difference. In the last months before she died, I visited her more often. Eliana liked my grandma because Grandma didn't talk to her like she was fragile. Grandma talked to her like she was a person. One afternoon, Eliana was trying to read one of Grandma's recipe cards. She stumbled on a word and her face tightened, bracing for disappointment. Grandma covered the card with her hand and said, "Pause." Eliana looked up. "Do you know what smart people do?" Grandma asked. Eliana shrugged. "They ask for what they need," Grandma said. "And they don't apologize for it." Then she read the card with her. Slowly, calmly, no sighs, no jokes, no comparisons. When Eliana left the room, Grandma looked at me and said, "They're doing it again." I didn't ask what she meant. I knew. "They did it to you," she said, "and now they're doing it to her." I tried to laugh it off, because that's what I do when I don't want to cry. Grandma didn't laugh. She leaned forward. "Promise me something." "What?" "If they ever humiliate that girl publicly, if they try to cut her out like she doesn't matter, you don't sit there and take it." I blinked. "Grandma, promise me." I promised. A week later, I visited Grandma again. She looked tired, but her eyes were sharp. She gestured to a stack of documents on her side table. "I won't pretend I knew what they were. My family's idea of bonding is not explaining paperwork." But Grandma tapped the stack and said quietly, "I'm putting protections in place." "For what?" I asked. "For your daughter," she said. "And for you." Then she added, almost like an afterthought, "Because your mother likes to pretend she doesn't know what's happening, and your father likes to pretend cruelty is honesty." I swallowed. "They'll be furious." Grandma's mouth twitched. "Let them." 8 months ago, Grandma died. My family grieved loudly, posted tributes, talked about how close we all were, which is always fascinating to hear from people who forget my child's birthday but remember Sophia's award schedule. A few weeks after the funeral, there was a knock at my door. It was evening. Eliana was in the living room watching cartoons. I opened the door and saw a man in a coat holding a leather folder. "Ms. Maya Friedman," he started. "Yes?" "I'm Mr. Caldwell," he said. "I represented your grandmother." My stomach dropped. My first thought was debt, or a mistake, or some adult mess that would land in my lap because that's how life works. Mr. Caldwell's eyes flicked past me toward the living room, where Eliana laughed at something on screen. He lowered his voice. "May I come in for a moment?" I let him in. He didn't sit right away. He stood at my kitchen counter like he didn't want to take up space in my life, like he understood that walking into someone's home with paperwork is invasive even when it's necessary. He opened the folder and slid a sealed packet toward me. "Your grandmother left this for you," he said. "And she was specific about why." I stared at the packet. It looked official. The kind of thing people assume only rich families have. Spoiler, rich families don't have fewer feelings. They just have better stationery. "What is it?" I asked. "It's a recent amendment," he said. "Signed shortly before your grandmother passed." My throat went dry. "Why would she—" "Because she was aware of what was happening," he said simply. I didn't ask what he meant. We both knew. Mr. Caldwell tapped the packet gently. "Your grandmother's trust owns the deed to the house and holds the funds. Your parents benefit from it. They don't control it the way they like to act like they do." That sentence settled something in me, a piece of the puzzle that had always felt off. My parents always spoke about the house like it was a crown, like they could hand it to Sophia at a microphone. Mr. Caldwell continued, "This amendment only matters if they ever try to cut your daughter out in a way that can't be denied. Something documented, an email, a written statement, a recorded announcement." I stared at him. Why that kind of trigger? He didn't smile, but something in his eyes softened. Because your parents are careful. They say things just softly enough to rewrite them later. Your grandmother didn't want this turning into a he said, she said. He pushed the packet toward me. You're not meant to threaten them with this. You don't wave it around. You keep it safe. I swallowed. And if they do it? Mr. Caldwell's voice dropped slightly. Then the trust does what your grandmother designed it to do. He didn't explain every detail. He didn't need to. He gave me the instruction and the tool. Then he left. I stood in my kitchen holding the packet like it was both a shield and a grenade. I didn't want to use it. I didn't want to be the kind of person who brings paperwork to a family event. But when the anniversary invitation arrived with celebrating our legacy in glittering script, my stomach did that slow sink. So I put the folder in my bag, just in case. And then we walked into that room full of cameras, and my parents did it out loud. When I stood up at that dinner, I didn't feel brave. I felt steady, like my body had decided we weren't doing fear tonight. My parents were mid-applause, mid-performance. Daniela was smiling like a statue. Sophia looked thrilled and slightly overwhelmed in the way kids do when adults turn them into trophies. Eliana stared at the tablecloth like it had suddenly become the safest place to put her eyes. I made myself speak before I could overthink it. I got up. My brain narrated uselessly, because apparently my brain likes drama too. I smiled, because the smile matters. A smile is disarming. A smile is also a warning wrapped in politeness. And I said, loud enough for the microphones and the phones and the videographer, my daughter was named a beneficiary. The room didn't stop all at once. It was more like a wave hitting a shoreline. A few claps died midair. A laugh got stuck somewhere in someone's throat. The videographer angled toward me like his instincts kicked in. My dad blinked slowly. My mom's hand tightened around her champagne flute. I didn't give them time to build momentum. Of Grandma Elena's trust, I added, because I was not about to let this turn into a vague argument. The trust that owns the house. The trust that holds the $280,000. Silence. Not polite silence. The kind of silence where people are holding their breath because something is about to break. My dad stepped forward like he could physically push my words back into my mouth. Maya, he said, voice low. Sit down. Not, what do you mean? Not, is Eliana okay? Just control. My mom smiled too brightly. Sweetheart, she said, you must be confused. Daniela stood up so fast her chair scraped. Brandon's hand went to her elbow like he was managing a PR crisis. Sophia looked around, confused, because kids can sense when adults are lying even if they don't know what the lie is. I pulled the folder from my bag and held it up. I didn't open it. I didn't read paragraphs. I just held it long enough for the people nearest me to see the heading and the signature at the bottom. Grandma Elena's name. My mom made a small, sharp inhale like she'd been slapped. My dad's face went an unhealthy shade of gray. That's not... Daniela started. Brandon stepped in, loud. This is inappropriate. I almost laughed. Because yes, Brandon, it is inappropriate. So is publicly erasing a child with a microphone. But sure, let's discuss manners now. My dad's voice rose. Where did you get that? From Grandma's attorney, I said calmly. After the funeral. My dad shook his head. That's impossible. We're the trustees. You were, I said, and watched that word land. My mom's smile wobbled. Maya, we were speaking generally. We didn't say Eliana gets nothing. I nodded toward the sea of raised screens. You want to tell all those cameras you didn't say it? Then I looked at Eliana. Her phone was still on the table, angled wrong now, not recording. She held it like a shield. Her eyes were huge and wet, but refusing to spill. I didn't let this become another memory she'd have to survive. This isn't about interpretation, I said. You said it out loud. My dad's hand twitched toward the folder. Instinctively, I stepped back. Not dramatic, not scared, just protective, like you do when someone reaches for your child. Daniela started talking fast, like speed could outrun reality. You're doing this because you're jealous. You've always... No, I cut in. I'm doing this because you called my kid the dumb one in front of a room full of cameras and then announced she gets nothing. The room shifted. People looked at each other. Someone's face tightened in discomfort. Because even if they'd laughed earlier, no one likes being reminded they laughed. My mom's voice went shrill. We never... You did, I said. And tonight is recorded. That's why Grandma wrote it the way she did. My dad's jaw worked like he was chewing on something bitter. What does it even mean? Someone at a nearby table whispered. I kept it short. Human. Clear. It means, I said, you don't get to cut Eliana out and keep living off Grandma's trust like it's your personal trophy shelf. I saw my dad's nostrils flare. He leaned forward. You're humiliating us. I tilted my head. Yes, I said quietly. Funny how it only counts as humiliation when it happens to you. My mom's eyes flashed. You're ruining our anniversary. I glanced at Eliana, then back at them. You ruined a 12-year-old, I said. I'm just refusing to participate. I didn't stay to argue the details. I didn't stay to be baited. I didn't stay because my daughter was still in the room, and the point was never to win a fight in front of her. I turned to Eliana, held out my hand, and said, Let's go home. She stood so quickly her chair nearly tipped. As we walked away, my dad called after me, voice sharp and loud, meant for every phone. This isn't over. We'll contest it. I didn't turn around. I just said, over my shoulder, Good luck saying you never said it, when you said it into a microphone. And we walked out. We didn't make it to the parking lot before my phone started vibrating like it was possessed. My dad, my mom, Daniela, Brandon. A relative saved as Aunt Renee, because yes, we can name at least one enabler in this story. Eliana walked beside me like she was bracing for impact. In the car, she stared out the window and whispered, Am I in trouble? That question hit me harder than anything my parents said. No, I said immediately. You are not in trouble. You did nothing wrong. She nodded, still tense. Did I ruin their night? She asked. I let out a short laugh, dry, tired. Honey, they ruined their own night. They've been practicing for years. That made her mouth twitch like she almost smiled, then stopped herself like she wasn't sure she was allowed to. When we got home, I made hot chocolate like it was a spell. Eliana sat at the counter stirring and finally asked, What does beneficiary mean? It means, I said, Grandma wanted you protected. Eliana stared into the mug. Because I'm dumb? My chest tightened. I crouched so we were eye level. You are not dumb, I said. You're 12. You're funny. You're stubborn. You have dyslexia. Reading is harder sometimes. That doesn't make you less. She swallowed. I don't want them to hate me. I know, I said. And I hated that I knew. When Eliana finally fell asleep, I sat at my kitchen table, pulled up the clip from the anniversary, and emailed it to Mr. Caldwell. No speech, no explanation, just the video. At 6:12 a.m. the next morning, my email pinged. Subject line, Confirmation of notice receipt. Elena Family Trust. That's the kind of email that makes your stomach drop even when you asked for it. I stared at it for a second, then opened it. Mr. Caldwell's name was at the top, short, clean, professional. He confirmed he had received my message and the attached video clip from the anniversary, my dad's toast, my mom's laugh, the words, That goes to Sophia too, all of it, floating in a room full of applause. then one sentence that made my hands start shaking. The triggering event occurred on record. The administrative steps will begin today. Administrative steps. 2 words that sound boring until they're aimed like a weapon. At 7:03 a.m. My phone rang. My dad. I didn't answer. He called again. And again. Then a voicemail. His voice was calm at first, which is always when he's the most dangerous. "Maya," he said, "I need you to stop whatever you think you're doing. This is a misunderstanding." Then his calm snapped. "If you don't fix this, you will regret it." I saved the voicemail. Not because I'm petty, because I'm a single mom and single moms don't survive without receipts. At 8:20 a.m., Daniela texted. A long paragraph that began with, "I can't believe you would do this to Mom and Dad." I stared at it and felt something in my brain go quiet. Not numb, just done. I typed back one sentence. "You watched them do it to my child." Then I put my phone face down. Because here's what I've learned. Arguing with people who don't want truth is like trying to teach a cat algebra. It's not happening, and you'll just end up scratched. They didn't wait long to escalate. That afternoon, Eliana's school called. "Hi," the receptionist said, cheerful, unaware she was delivering a grenade. "We just wanted to confirm Eliana's grandmother and grandfather are here to pick her up." My lungs went cold. "What?" I said. "They said it's an emergency," she added. "They're listed as family on her file." Of course they were. Because years ago, when I still believed in family, I put them down as emergency contacts. I hadn't updated it yet because my life is a rotating list of things I haven't updated yet, including my stress levels. I gripped the phone so hard my fingers hurt. "Do not release her," I said, voice sharp enough to slice. "I'm on my way." I left work early, drove like my heartbeat was steering. When I got to the school office, my mom was standing there with that bright smile she uses when she wants strangers to think she's kind. My dad stood beside her, rigid, already irritated that the world wasn't bending. Eliana wasn't there yet. Thankfully. My mom turned when she saw me and said too sweetly, "Maya, we just wanted to talk to her." My dad cut in. "We're her grandparents." I walked right up to the counter and looked at the receptionist. "Remove them," I said. "From her file. Right now." My mom's smile faltered. "Maya, don't do this." My dad's voice dropped. "You're making this worse." I looked at him. "No," I said. "You did that. You just tried to corner my child at school." My mom's eyes flashed. "We're family." I laughed once, small, sharp. "You don't get to use that word after last night." My dad leaned closer. "We can handle this privately." "You had your chance," I said. "You chose a microphone." The receptionist looked like she wanted to disappear behind the printer. My mom's voice trembled. "We weren't going to hurt her." I stared at her. "You already did." Then I turned to my dad. "Leave." He puffed up. "Excuse me?" I said leave. I repeated, calm. "Or I'll ask the school to call security." My dad's face reddened with the shock of being denied control in public. He opened his mouth. Then he looked around at the parents walking through the office, the receptionist watching, the world witnessing. He swallowed his rage. "Fine," he snapped. "We'll handle this another way." And they walked out. When Eliana came down a minute later, she saw my face and froze. "What happened?" she whispered. I knelt in front of her and smoothed her hair back. My hands were shaking. I kept my voice steady. "I changed your school pickup list," I said. "Only me. Okay?" Eliana nodded, eyes wide. Were they? "They wanted to talk," I said. "They don't get to surprise you anymore." She swallowed. Then she said very quietly, "I'm sorry." I felt my chest crack. "No," I said immediately. "No, you do not apologize for adults making choices." She leaned into me like she'd been holding herself up by stubbornness and finally ran out. I held her in the school office like I didn't care who saw. Let them record that, I thought. 2 weeks later, a thick envelope arrived by certified mail. Not to me, to them. I know because Aunt Renee texted me a photo like it was gossip she couldn't wait to deliver. There it was, a bright green sticker, signatures, official stamps. Subject printed across the top of the notice in bold. Notice of trustee removal. Elena Family Trust. Below it, another line. Notice of termination of occupancy benefit, which is a fancy way of saying you don't get to live there anymore. My hands went cold in a satisfying way. My phone rang 10 minutes later. My mom. I answered. Her voice was already in full meltdown. "Maya, this is insane. This can't be happening." In the background, I heard my dad yelling, actual yelling, not his controlled, polished anger, real panic. I stayed quiet and let her talk herself out. "We didn't mean it," she said. "We didn't mean Eliana gets nothing. We were celebrating—" "You were performing," I said calmly. "Maya, please," she begged. "Call Mr. Caldwell. Tell him to stop this." I exhaled slowly. "I can't," I said. "And even if I could, I wouldn't." Her breath hitched. "You're punishing us." "No," I said. "I'm protecting her." My dad's voice cut in from the background, loud enough that the phone picked it up. "She planned this. She's always been bitter." My mom whispered, "Stop," to him, like she was trying to manage a fire with a paper towel. Then she came back, voice trembling. "We're going to contest it." I kept my voice flat. "You can try." "We'll tell them you manipulated her," my mom snapped, desperation sharpening. "We'll tell them Grandma wasn't well." I felt my pulse rise, but my voice stayed steady. "Then you should probably stop talking," I said, "because you're still on speaker and I'm still recording." Silence. Then my dad screamed something in the background that sounded like a chair scraping. My mom's voice dropped to a whisper. "You're recording me?" "I'm a single mom," I said. "I record everything." I hung up. The official email hit my inbox 3 days later. Subject line: Establishment of subtrusts. Beneficiary allocation confirmed. I opened it with my heart in my throat. It was short, clean, no drama, just facts. 2 subtrusts were being established. One for Eliana, one for Sophia. 50% each. The $280,000 would be divided, $140,000 into each protected account. The house, because you can't split a house like a cupcake, would be listed for sale, and the proceeds would be placed into the 2 subtrusts, 50-50 once sold. A timeline at the bottom: occupancy benefit terminated. Vacate by 30 days from notice date. 30 days. My parents had built their identity around that house. It wasn't just a home. It was their stage. And now the stage lights were shutting off. I sat at my kitchen table and stared at the email until my eyes burned. Then Eliana came in and asked, "Mom, are we okay?" I looked at my daughter, this kid who had been called the dumb one by adults who should have protected her, and something in me softened. "We're okay," I said. "We're safe." She nodded slowly. "Does that mean they'll stop?" I swallowed. "I can't control what they do," I said honestly. "But I can control what they get access to." Eliana's eyes flicked up. "Access?" I smiled a little. "Yeah," I said. "Access." That night I emailed the school again, updated every contact, updated every permission list. updated everything I should have updated earlier. Then I sent one text to my mom and dad. One sentence. "You don't contact Eliana without me. Ever." My dad replied immediately, "You can't keep her from us." I stared at the screen and typed back, "Watch me." I later learned the video didn't just circulate. It detonated. Not because I posted it. I didn't. I had a kid to tuck in and a school pickup list to rewrite. But family group chats don't need my help. They're basically wildfire with thumbs. Aunt Renee, yes, the same one who laughed, forwarded the clip like it was a breaking news alert. Someone else added captions. Someone else zoomed in on my mom's face when she said, Eliana is not included." Within 24 hours, half the family had seen it, and the other half was pretending they hadn't, while still forming very loud opinions about it. My parents tried the usual cleanup routine. It was taken out of context. It was a joke. We never said that. They even tried, "Mom was just emotional," like that made the words disappear. It didn't work, because this time, their words weren't floating in the air. They were sitting in everyone's camera roll. The house sold 3 months later. It went for $1.2 million. Not a penny of it went to my parents. Not a, "We'll set aside a little for you." Not a temporary stipend. Nothing. The sale proceeds went straight into the 2 sub-trusts, exactly like the notice said, 50-50. So after closing costs and fees, the trust deposited the split into the protected accounts, Eliana's share and Sophia's share, and my parents were officially, permanently, completely cut off. They lost the house. They lost trustee control. They lost the lifestyle cushion. They lost the ability to dangle inheritance like a leash. And the best part? They lost it because they couldn't resist humiliating a child into a microphone. My dad called me the day the sale finalized. His voice was calm in that scary way, like he was trying to pretend he still had leverage. "We need help," he said. Not, "I'm sorry." Not, "I was wrong." Just, "We need." I said, "You should ask Daniela." Click. Because yes, my parents went straight to Daniela. They expected their favorite to rescue them. Daniela didn't. She protected Sophia's half like it was Fort Knox and told my parents, very plainly, that she wasn't giving them a cent. She blamed them for triggering the clause in the first place, and then she went right back to her life, which was deeply on brand. My parents spent years teaching her that legacy is a prize and love comes with conditions. Daniela just applied that lesson to them when it stopped being convenient. After that, my parents downsized into a small rental across town. Not a tragic, living under a bridge situation. Real life isn't that cinematic. But the kind of place where nobody cares who they are, and there's no dining room big enough to host a legacy dinner with microphones. No stage, no spotlight, no audience. Just 2 people who finally had to sit with themselves. A few years later, Eliana was 16 and reading on her own, still dyslexic, still brilliant, just not ashamed anymore. As for my parents, I went no contact. They lost access to me and they lost access to her. So, did I go too far or not far enough? Let me know in the comments and subscribe for more.